Good morning, Doc, and good morning, classmates. I know this is a little no easy day for us since we are all preparing for our title defense tomorrow. Pero syempre, masaya din kasi just yesterday nabalitaan natin na tuloy-tuloy or tuloy na ang SRI. Kaya let's just keep going. Papasaan ba at makakapag-relax din tayo in the coming days. Okay, so my topic for today is about the legal challenges in the Philippine education during the COVID-19 pandemic. But before I begin, tinanong ko muna si Meta AI kung ano-ano ang 10 pinaka sumikat na salita sa Pilipinas noong kasagsagan ng COVID-19 pandemic. Again, ano yung 10 pinakasumikat na salita sa Pilipinas noong kasagsagan ng COVID-19? So, try to key in your answers, classmates, in our chat box po. Okay, let's see kung pasok po yung mga sagot ninyo. So, ang sagot po ni Meta AI, we have quarantine, frontliner, ayuda, social distancing, lockdown, face mask, face shield, vaccine, community pantry, and of course, module. Yan. Congratulations po sa mga nakakuha ng tamang sagot. And thank you po for your participation, mga ma'am and sir. This time, let us have a brief flashback on how it all started. It was January 2020. I remember I was still in a private school that time noong nagkaroon ng confirmed case ng COVID-19 dito sa Pilipinas. It was a Chinese woman who traveled all the way from China. Just few days after that, so from January 30 to February 8, we have recorded the first COVID-19 related death. This time, it was a 44-year-old Chinese man. Then by March 7, may local transmissions na po tayo at nagigpit na sa mga health security measures. Ito yung panahon na na-experience kong bumili ng isang pirasong face mask sa halagang 25 pesos. Legit yan, mga ma'am and sir. Dun sa botika na malapit sa amin, no choice kasi bawal na that time na lumabas ng walang face mask. March 16, nag-declare na ng mga community quarantines. And ipinagbawal na ang public transportation, ipinasara na ang mga non-essential business establishments, even churches and schools. Naaalala ko agad-agad yung aming executive minister sa Iglesia ni Cristo, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo, provided us with the guidelines on how are we going to conduct household worship services o pagsambang pansambahayan. Kaya not even a week nahinto yung mga pagsamba namin that time. Ito din yung time na halos mapuno na yung ating mga hospitals and health facilities. Then everything began to feel totally different. And here are some photos that will bring us back, that will bring back our memories during the COVID-19 pandemic in the country. Imagine our busiest roads, biglang naging napakalinis at napakatahimik. There were closures of boundaries everywhere, just like here in Bagong Silang. Yung lusot papuntang Bulacan, sarado yan since we are trying to contain the virus. At yung mga PPEs na dati ay sa mga pelikula lang natin napapanood na isinusuot has become so normal to us during that time. And here's another set of pictures. Now, puntahan na natin yung mga legal challenges that our school system faced during the pandemic. Ano-ano ba yung ilan sa mga problemang kinaharap natin, tayo mismo as teachers, since I believe most of us are already teaching that time. So what are some of our battles being part of the education sector during the time that the country is in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic? Let us begin with access to education. The shift to online learning highlighted inequalities in access to internet connectivity, gadgets, and other resources. Many students, particularly those in remote or impoverished areas, struggled to participate effectively in education. Actually, ito talaga yung naging major problem natin pagpasok ng pandemic period. Especially nung ipinasara na ang mga schools. Kahit may panawagan na that time na mag-declare ng academic freeze, but still the Department of Education pushed through. Una sa mga naging solusyon nila ay yung paggamit ng mga self-learning modules. Then afterwards, nagkaroon ng mga online classes which pose more of a problem than solutions. Since una, hindi naman lahat ng bata ay may mga cellphone or kung meron man, problema din yung pagpapaload. Dagdag mo pa dyan yung hindi maayos na signal. So to resolve, nagsimulang umere yung DepEd TV. But still, the problem remains unresolved, especially sa mga remote areas na hindi naaabot ang ganitong mga learning modalities. Next, we have privacy and data protection. The widespread use of online platforms for education raised concerns about the protection of students' and teachers' personal information. Cases of data breaches, unauthorized recordings, and cyberbullying became prevalent. Since nauso nga yung mga online class during the pandemic, it has also brought another problem related this time sa privacy both ng teacher at ng mga estudyante. So pareho tayong naging vulnerable sa social insecurity online. I remember nauso yung mga unauthorized participants sa online class. In some cases, they were able to show their screen na may mga obscene photos or videos. Yan. Ewan ko kung may nakaranas sa atin yan, diba? Pero may napabalitang mga gano'n na chances. Bukod pa rito, naging common din ang pagre-record ng online classes ng walang pahintulot na pwedeng mag-leak sa social media at magdulot ng kahihiyan o stress sa mga teachers at students. These incidents emphasize the need for stricter data privacy measures tulad ng paggamit ng secure platforms, setting meeting passwords, and enabling features like waiting rooms upang ma-monitor yung mga pumapasok sa virtual class. Labor rights of teachers. Teachers face increased workloads due to the shift to remote teaching, with some reporting unpaid overtime and inadequate support for technological tools. So, during the pandemic, teachers really faced a lot of challenges when it came to their work conditions. Imagine, from traditional face-to-face classes, biglang nag-shift tayo to remote teaching. Ang hirap kasi most teachers had to adjust overnight, learning how to use new tools, creating digital lesson plans, and attending to students' needs online. Ang problema pa, marami sa atin ang naka-experience ng mga unpaid overtime. Like, you'd think after the teaching for the day, tapos na, pero hindi, no? Akala mo tapos na, hindi pa pala. Teachers still had to check outputs, prepare materials for the next day, and attend webinars, all without proper compensation. Dagdag pa dyan, hindi rin lahat provided ng gadgets or reliable internet connection. So some even had to spend out of pocket para lang ma-ensure na tuloy yung learning ng ating mga estudyante. So it really highlighted the need for better labor protections for teachers na sana merong clear guidelines on workload, overtime, and proper support for technological needs kasi at the end of the day, we want to give our best to the students pero dapat fair din ang treatment sa ating mga teachers. Another one is accountability for learning outcomes. The effectiveness of remote learning methods was questioned, with concerns about the quality of education delivered and students' actual learning outcomes. It Yung isang malaking tanong nung nag-shift tayo sa remote learning, effective ba talaga ang mga methods na gamit natin? Ang daming concerns na lumabas, lalo na pagdating sa quality ng education. Kasi, let's be honest, hindi lahat ng students nakaka-adapt agad sa bagong setup. At hindi rin lahat ng teachers may sapat na training or tools to deliver lessons effectively online. May mga nagtatanong, kumusta naman yung actual learning ng mga students? Natututo ba talaga sila? Or parang nagre-rely na lang tayo sa compliance tulad ng pag-submit ng activities without fully checking kung naiintindihan nila yung lesson. Nakadagdag pa yung lack of monitoring tools na dati available during face-to-face classes. So this situation made us realize how important it is to evaluate the learning outcomes and not just the process. Kasi kung education ng usapan, hindi lang dapat nakabase sa kung naipasa ang requirement, kundi kung talagang natuto ang mga estudyante. At the same time, we need to support teachers in ensuring that the methods we use are not just convenient, but also effective. Ito pa isa, equity in public and private schools. Private schools face massive enrollment drops, financial instability, and closures, while public schools struggled to accommodate increased student numbers. So during the pandemic, sobrang lumitaw yung inequality between public and private schools. Sa private schools, ang laki ng naging enrollment drops nila dahil maraming parents ang hindi na kaya magbayad ng tuition. At saka isa pa, kung magbabayad ka man ng tuition sa kanila, eh hindi rin naman face-to-face classes. So parang aksaya lang. Diba? So result, nagkaroon ng financial instability at may mga private schools na napilitang magsara kasi hindi na nila masustain yung operation ng eskwelahan. On the other hand, public schools experience the opposite. Dumami ng gusto yung mga enrollees, pero ang problema, hindi naman ganun kadaling i-accommodate bigla-bigla yung influx ng students. Kulang sa classroom, kulang sa teachers, at syempre, limited din yung resources. Like for example, yung mga learning modules, yung mga gadgets para sa online learning. No? This situation really highlighted the gap between public and private education systems. Napaisip tayo kung paano ba natin maisisiguro na lahat ng students, regardless of where they enrolled, ay meron silang access sa quality education kahit anong sitwasyon. No? At the same time, it underscored the importance of supporting both public and private institutions para magpatuloy ang edukasyon para sa lahat. Last is about funding and budgetary constraints. The pandemic stretched educational budgets, leading to delays in salaries, inadequate resources for remote learning, and reduced support for private schools. Isa sa pinakamalaking hamon ng education sector during the pandemic ay yung kakulangan sa pondo. The sudden shift to remote learning stretched educational budgets to the limit. Dahil dito, maraming problema ang lumitaw. Unang-una, nagkaroon ng delay sa sahod ng ilang teachers, lalo na sa mga private schools. Para bang nag-a-adjust ka na nga sa new normal, tapos pati yung pinaka-basic na needs mo, apektado pa. Dagdag pa dito yung hindi sapat na mga resources para sa remote learning, kulang sa gadgets, learning materials, at stable internet connection na nagresulta dun sa iba pang challenges na kinaharap hindi lang ng mga teachers kundi ng mga estudyante. And also, hindi rin nakatanggap ng sapat na support ang private schools na nag-struggle na nga dahil sa pagbaba ng enrollment. This left many of them on the situations na kailangan nila magsara, affecting not just teachers' jobs, no, but also the students relying on these schools. Yeah. So overall, this crisis showed how critical it is to allocate enough funds for education, especially during the emergencies para masigurong sustainable ang sistema at walang naiiwang sektor, be it a teacher, student, or schools. Now, bukod dun sa mga nabanggit ko, alam ko na marami pang legal challenges na kinaharap ang education sector natin sa bansa during the pandemic. And although it seemed na nalagpasan na natin ang marami doon sa mga challenges na yon, and for sure natuto na tayo, but still may mga long-standing effect pa rin yon sa kasalukuyang sitwasyon natin sa edukasyon. I believe everybody would agree that we are still on our way to recovery dun sa learning backlogs na naging epekto ng school closures. In fact, itong shortened school year is also attributed sa naging mga irregularities ng school system natin sa bansa. And by next school year, susubukan na natin bumalik dun sa regular na school calendar natin, which is from June to March. So that is my report for today. Thank you for listening and happy holidays.